Well, here we are, the Brotherhood Men's Leadership Community. We wanted to take a moment to talk about healthy masculinity. There's just been so much going on in the larger conversation. The toxic aspects of masculinity have been on blast right now in the Me Too movement, and rightly so. And it feels in many ways to many men like toxic masculinity those two words are kind of being smashed together. Masculinity itself is toxic, and that has not been my experience. So I wanted to take some time with two of my favorite men in the world who embody many, both masculine and feminine aspects in themselves that are nourishing, to talk a little bit about the way that we show up as men in our nourishing, healthy masculinity, and invite everybody who wants to jump in and talk about some of the ways that masculinity is embodied in your life through men who are caring about you. Yeah. So please welcome. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Brendan. Hey, Annika. Rebecca, thanks for showing up and tagging friends.
Yeah.
And so Peter, let's talk. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to open it up to you. There was a concept that you were bringing into the space as we were talking about this video around like the role of the masculine. Say it in your words.
Yeah. So to me, the masculine, you can also call it yang energy. It's linear, it's penetrating, and it can be in men and women. This is not about men and women, although today we are talking about the masculine qualities in men. Although we could have 4 different calls, right? It's like a checkerboard. But I digress. So this masculine penetrating linear quality, in my mind, its best use is to serve the feminine energy. If the feminine energy is life itself and chaos and movement and, that sort of organic unfolding, the masculine is sometimes the pot that helps the plant grow. The masculine is the structure that has everything flow through it. Right? The masculine can guide the river by providing the banks. In many ways, the masculine is suited to provide, to support, to hold, to uplift. So those are some of the qualities I see in the healthy masculine.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the context of, if we're going to talk about it in the context of the Me Too movement, there's one of the things that was coming up for me is this distinction between masculinity as something that's harmful versus masculinity that is as like protectorship. And the distinction can be really fine. A warrior can cause a lot of damage, but a warrior can also protect. And, in the context of masculinity that is healthy and that is playing like a genuinely supportive, protective role, yeah, I see that as the essence of what we're talking about. And I see a lot of men in my life showing up, maybe sometimes imperfectly. Nobody is going to get it right all the time, but there are a lot of men in my life, and certainly it's something that us as a collaborative team are really committed to, which is to put our own personal baggage and our own wounding and our own stuff aside so that we can be a present healing space for the voices and the energy that are coming out through this Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I see masculinity in men showing up a couple of different ways, kind of divergent ways. In one way, it's just this spacious ground that's just holding a ground and being like open and grounded in the presence of wild emotion, of chaos, of difference, of dancing, of the flow of the feminine in many ways. And just holding that spaciousness and stillness in that presence. And sometimes it's very penetrating and very sort of very focused and very like goal oriented in doing, like, let me help you in this way. Let me support you in this way. Let me show up for you and help you take care of that thing, whatever it is, whether it's, a project around your place, or let me just hold space for you while you lose your shit for a little while, which both of you have done many times for me. And it's not a fixing and it's not a doing. It's an exquisitely masculine, non-doing presence that allows me
to simply be with.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll give an example, a professional example. I have a male client who's very strong in his feminine. his flow, his, his energy as it's moving. And I know I've really touched him by the way I'm able to receive and listen and be with his flow, and then reflect back to him what I think his 7 top priorities are. He's so hungry for that. And he's so thankful that I'm helping him put structure, create projects from a feeling, from the feelings that he's carrying and the message he wants to give. And for me, it's very much a devotional process. There's a lot of reverence for his flow, and I don't want to cut it off, not at all. I just want to help him guide and expand it.
Help him figure out how to channel himself and how to basically like bring himself to the world in a way that would have an impact, is what I'm hearing.
Right? Totally. Yeah. Channel that flow into a direction.
Yeah. And I imagine that must feel incredible to him to be held and supported and guided in that way.
Yeah, it does. And it's very collaborative. It's very consensual, right? I'm not taking it and forcing it in any particular way. I'm making offers. I'm making requests. I'm saying, hey, here's what I'm thinking. How is that for you? How does that feel to you?
Yeah. Here's the structure that I'm seeing here. And I want to thank you, all of you, for showing up and listening in. Please join the conversation. Tell us about ways that you have had men show up in their masculine that's been nourishing for you as a woman or as a man. Like, how have you felt and been nourished and supported by masculine presence in your life? Like, we would love to hear your thoughts on it. Because this is a moment that we really want to take to celebrate. Like, these 2 men have brought so much nourishment into my life through their masculinity, through their groundedness, through their non-reactiveness to my intensities and reactivities, and their capacity to support me and hold me accountable to things that I am committed to the values that they know that I hold. And it's so powerful when we have a container of consent. Like, I've asked these men to hold me accountable, and they do. And that's a beautiful way that their masculinity shows up in my world.
Yeah. I'll say that on my end, I can't count the number of times that I've reached out to these you two, Joshua and Peter specifically, and said, can I have some time to just have a cry? I have some feelings.
Yeah.
And simply have attention, be witnessed, and feel loved through it all.
Yeah.
And there, like, the experience for me is that there's this emotional gunk sitting inside of me, and it has me feel blocked up and unclear and disconnected. And like, I think oftentimes of babies or small children, like, something happens, they fall down, they get upset, whatever, like, their thing gets taken away. And for the most part, they cry. And then a moment later, they're giggling, like their attention is it's all of a sudden it's somewhere else, and they're back in the world, they're engaged. And I firmly hold that we never lose that need to empty out the feelings that are coming in through us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's coming up for me, a couple things. One is that some people watching this might have a really hard time with this video and having a hard time celebrating masculinity in men. If you've been hurt by men in their masculine. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about toxic versus healthy, it's like, it's hard not to feel them connected. And I just have so much empathy if you're watching this and feeling like, I can't celebrate. I don't have access to that celebration, or it's really confronting. Mm-hmm. So just taking a big breath with that, and sort of the chicken and egg problem. Like, a lot of Me Too is about men showing up and saying, I'm willing to hear, how have I hurt you? How has my masculinity hurt you? Mm-hmm. I think as men, that's our work. And at the same time, as men, we're dying to be celebrated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I hope as men, we can go first and hold space for the impact, and at the same time, we're dying to be celebrated. Yeah. Say that your masculinity is a gift. And I see more than the times it comes out sideways. That hurt. And I see that gift, and I want that gift. Because I know as men, we carry so much shame. I have carried so much shame, and because it comes from care as well. I don't want to hurt anyone. None of us want to hurt anyone, So it's about realizing that my masculinity actually is more trustworthy than I think, that people do want that side of me. Mm-hmm. So there's a healing to be had in all angles, all directions here.
Yeah. And I'll say, like, for me, I get feedback from a lot of people, from women specifically, that they want to feel more of my masculine side. They want to feel more of my raw power, my protectorship, and the part of me that knows how to take the lead in a situation, like take control, but not in a controlling way. It's like, take the lead, I guess, is the best wording for it.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people in my life that just desperately want to be able to let go, stop holding on all the time, stop trying to figure things out all the time, and just follow somebody that they trust and enjoy the experience, be able to like just give themselves over to an experience.
Yeah. Please give a shout out if you've had that experience of just dropping in. And this is the way we polarize, right? We can't talk about masculinity without talking about polarity, and the way that when I show up in my trustworthy, healthy masculinity, I give everybody, whether it's my brother or my sister or my partner, permission to really drop into their femininity, to really drop into their feeling and their flow state, to drop into that ease and trust and yielding. And so just want to celebrate the ways that that men are showing up, and acknowledge and just echo what Peter's saying about how it's odd, because we're conditioned to not supposed to need any kind of affirmation as men. I am an independent man. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. I'm going to do me. And that is precisely sort of the contraction that we're working against. Is no, we need to be celebrated. We are actually interdependent beings. We are deeply sensitive. And when we are nourished by celebration and affirmation, then we're more capable of embodying and inhabiting trustworthy masculinity in the world.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I want to build on that and say self-celebration is so important. You know, we got to start by celebrating ourselves and asking for celebration. Other people aren't mind readers. You know, we can say, hey, I'd love to be celebrated around XYZ. Could you offer that to me? Right?
Yeah.
And as we wrap up here, a couple more things come to mind. One is that talking in polarities is really interesting, and there's a lot of energy there. But we all embrace anything that's off the polarity as well. We don't need to confine the entire universe into two sides. You know, this is a full embrace of all of who we are, and we don't need to put it in any sort of bucket. And I think we're really saying permission to bring your deepest gifts.
Yeah. And I want to say, as a context as we move toward closing here, is that these are some of, like, this conversation and conversations like this are ones that us three are engaged in as we grow our men's leadership community, really bringing this commitment to creating a space where men can learn to be sensitive and be attuned and be in their feeling bodies, and have their authentic expression, and where they can also bring their leadership and their presence and their clarity around their path forward, and really integrating these two elements, these masculine and feminine elements. Yes, it's just for me, it's definitely a blessing to get to be involved with both of you and creating this project and creating this space to create a world of men who are trustworthy and in their potency and in their leadership.
Yeah.
And embodying these qualities of like unwavering commitment, of just clarity, groundedness, of being hard. Like, there's a place for hardness. And that hardness is fucking beautiful when you are trying to walk down the sidewalk, right? Like, we need this hardness and intensity in our lives sometimes. And I just want to celebrate that. And again, just end on a note of really appreciating the beautiful qualities of masculinity that show up in men. This committedness, this unwaveringness, this accountability, this intensity, this desire, this like, I have a vision and I'm going after it 100%. And it's not just in men that we can celebrate it, but today, as three men who work with men and help men to integrate and balance their masculinity and femininity as a fundamental principle of the leadership work that we do, we want to just take a moment to celebrate that masculinity, that hard cock, that serious, like, just badassery that men can bring precisely when we need it. So thank you all for tuning in. We really appreciate all the comments. We'll look forward to catching up with them and responding more articulately after the call, and I hope you have a beautiful day. And please take a moment to celebrate a man in your life for the way that he's showing up for you. And you may have no idea how much he might need that. And there are so many men who are suffering quietly out there who really need that kind of love. So thank you all. Do well.
All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, recording has stopped, or live has stopped.
Could you end the recording as well?
Yeah, go ahead and end the recording.
It just saves us if we can be